Team Fortress 2. I don't even know where to start this. TF2 is on its way to becoming my favorite PvP shooter that I have ever played. I never thought of making any video about it because it's been out for so long with so much content going around it, whether it's beginner's guides, builds, montages, matchup videos, analysis, even commentary. Which is why I was so hesitant to even make a video about this game in the first place. What could I possibly say or do that hasn't been done thousands of times over the course of almost 2 entire decades? TF2 has gone through so much change throughout its life, some amazing highs and extremely deep lows. And being someone who's very late to the party, I decided the best thing that I could do is just sit down and talk about my experience and thoughts with the game being a brand new player, years after its prime and many years after its launch. TF2 has been such an amazing time that it has given me some proper motivation to blow the dust off this channel and talk about it. As of this recording, I downloaded the game July 30th, 2025, and I have around 70 hours. And with all of that finally out of the way, let's talk about this absolute fever dream of a game, why I love it to absolute pieces, and what exactly makes it so special. Does this game even need an introduction? It's really no mystery why we can see so many parts of modern gaming that were inspired by TF2, whether it's characters, modes, even being free to play. It is an absolute behemoth of a game. And despite it almost being 20 years old, it's still alive and kicking, which can't be said for most multiplayer games, even after half the time. For God's sake, this game's last update was 7 years ago. 7 years ago. Some games don't even make it that long. And despite it all, the game is still going, and it's going really strong. But how is this even possible? Between an extremely loyal fan base and Valve giving the community the in-game assets to create their own things like servers, modded guns, maps that can be put into the official rotation, even Valve giving the community full access to their animating and recording software SFM, allowing them to create amazing shorts, videos, and even entire damn movies. It's allowed players to make new things to keep the game fresh, and why not? Valve has their hands full with other projects, and on top of that, they still have people that keep an eye on TF2 to provide bug fixes, cosmetic changes, etc. Despite the extremely rough track the game has gone through over the past couple of years, which I do plan to briefly discuss later, things have changed. Valve has listened, and because of it, the game still has people that are playing it very consistently, including myself. And the fact that this game can average the player count that it does brings tears to my eyes. Between the maps, the balance, the classes, the players playing the game, it's just been such an amazing breath of fresh air for me. And speaking of the classes, it's time we move on to the next chapter. Before this segment starts, I just want to say I will not be yapping about every single class in depth. Half of them I have barely touched.
You suck.
And the ones I have, I will discuss in greater length. My point is, I'm not going to blabber for a while about every class because we'd be here all fucking day. I will be thoroughly discussing a few of them while I will give my brief thoughts about others. If your favorite character or main is one that I don't have that much to say about, I sincerely apologize. I do plan on getting to every class eventually, but as of right now, I simply don't have enough experience to properly give a lengthy discussion about all of them. Also, this is the longest section of this video by far, so buckle the fuck up, kids. It's time for some opinions. Now, what could that possibly be? Hey, Editing Grismon here. I just wanted to say really quick for the people in the back that these are my opinions. Super scary, I know. Opinions are like assholes, we all have them and they all stink. So please, if you disagree, I will happily discuss in the comment section politely. Back to the video. TF2 has such an amazing lineup of characters. I love all of them for one reason or another, whether it's their personality, gameplay, or both. During an Uncle Dane video that I was watching where he was reading some TF2 community hot takes, one of them states Pyro should be removed. And I personally could not disagree with this take more. And that goes for all of the classes in the game, not just Pyro. Obviously, there are a handful of classes that can be very tedious to go up against between the mentioned Pyro, Sniper, Spy, so on and so forth. but every class has their role that they fill, which makes TF2 become the well-oiled machine that it is. And let's just be real for a second, there's something to love and hate about every character in the game. Let's take the Pyro, for example. The notorious no-skill Sammy who finger fucks the W key while duct taping his mouse one button down, and bam, the entire team just explodes, and that's it. End of story. Or is it though? Because that was my initial impression going into the game, but little did I know that I could not have been more wrong. The Pyro is a character that I never saw myself getting into, even setting all of my initial stereotypes aside. He's just not a class that I was ever really into when I was young and not able to play the game. I just wanted to play the heavy and shoot everything that moved on my screen until there was nothing left. And that's exactly what I did. I played the heavy my first couple hours of TF2 and it just wasn't clicking for me. So I decided to take a step back and watch a few beginner videos, with the majority of them recommending starting with a more simple class, either Pyro, Medic, or Soldier, to allow you to understand the game and its fundamentals before picking up a more specialist character. So I opted for the Pyro, and oh my god guys, he is so much fucking fun. And yeah, no shit, the guy that runs around and sets people on fire is gonna be fun, but he wasn't just fun because of that, he was fun because he was more. The Pyro is a class that I very deeply misunderstood at first. While yes, he is much simpler on a base level, after I had unlocked some new weapons for him and discovered some different playstyles, I was hooked. To me, the special thing about Pyro is how many different ways he can be played. While yes, playing classes in different ways goes for all of them, he is the most diverse by far. While you have characters like Scout, Heavy, Medic, Sniper, Spy, and Soldier, who all have jobs to do, different loadouts will more often change how you do your job and not necessarily the actual job itself. It doesn't matter what loadout you have on Scout, you're most likely going to be prioritizing flanking, catching people off guard, and picking favorable fights to kill. Heavy, you're going to be mowing people down in optimal positions. Medic will keep you alive. Sniper will click heads. Spy will eliminate high-value targets while shutting down engineers. Soldier will click the ground and everything that breathes will fall over. But then there's Pyro. While he does thrive at killing people and flanking, he also fills so many other roles if you choose to do so. Take Vanilla Pyro. You burn people with your flamethrower and then you switch to your shotgun to either finish them off, try to meat shot some heavy targets, topping off with your burn to outgun them, or absolutely skullfuck the enemy Pyro in a 1v1. And whether you weren't a fan of the playstyle or you just want to switch it up, you could always be a Pybro. You hang around teammates, friendly nests, objectives, etc., focusing on keeping people alive, air blasting incoming projectiles, spy checking, busting sap builds, or extinguishing teammates. Or you could go with my personal favorite build for Pyro, which is the Combo Pyro, focusing around the flare gun. And to anyone that might not know, the flare gun is a one-shot projectile weapon, which if you shoot a normal enemy with it, it will only do 30 damage and start to burn them. However, if you shoot an enemy that is already on fire, whether it be you or another Pyro, by any means, it will critical hit and deal 90 damage, making it, in my personal opinion, the most fun, satisfying, and rewarding gun to use on the Pyro. Currently, my favorite build for him is stock, flare gun, and power jack. I know there's the degreaser, which a lot of people would argue is a direct upgrade from the stock, but I don't know. Personally, I found it to be a bit weaker despite the faster swap speed. Also, the Dragon's Fury kicks ass and brings a completely different range to play him, swapping your effective spy checking with insane team wipe potential. But to put a close on this Pyro yap, he holds an extremely special place in my heart, not only being a blast to play, but also teaching me the ropes about this game, being positioning, flanking, and also becoming pretty spy smart. While not doing anything exceptionally, he does everything effectively, and that's what makes him so special. A jack of all trades and a master of none is often more favorable than a master of one. Pyro, my beloved. While the Pyro is my most played class in the game currently, please allow me to talk about my favorite of all time. The Heavy is by far my favorite class to play in TF2. He is the entire reason I love this game as much as I do. His attitude, his silliness, his power, everything about him calls to me, and if you know anything about me, it shouldn't be a big surprise. In every game I play, I usually tend to gravitate to the more beefy and tanky characters and playstyles, whether it's team shooters, fighting games, normal shooters. If the game has any sort of beefcake character option, even if it's completely cosmetic and has no effect to actual gameplay, that's where I'm going every single time. And that reasoning itself is because of TF2. Even before I had a PC, even before I was in middle school, I was fascinated by the world of TF2 and its characters, especially the Heavy, but I will discuss more on that subject later. Finally, being able to play as the founding father of team anchors in shooter games, he is the GOAT. And by that, I don't mean he's the best in TF2. I know he isn't, which is completely fine. He does his job and he does it well. But sometimes he isn't the best pick, which is why it's great to have a secondary when the situation arises. But man, when he works, there is truly nothing like it to me. And I do understand a lot of people dislike playing him, not even for his inability to perform sometimes, whether it's a small map or a dominant enemy sniper or a hyper-aggressive spy. A lot of people just find him boring to play, which, while it does break my heart to hear, I completely understand the argument. He is very, very slow, and having to keep firing on an enemy to drop them can be a turnoff to people. And some find burst damage to be way more fitting towards their playstyle and much more satisfying, which is completely valid. But I really can't put my finger on what it is exactly. Something about me just loves being the guy in the front line leading the push, being the anchor, being a menace, and being the big bad boss that they have to beat to get through. And say what you want about the Heavy, if you find one that knows what he's doing, whether that's good positioning, knowing when to advance or turtle up, checking their back for spies, you have a real problem. And then you throw a medic in the mix and you have a nightmare. I would say my favorite loadout for Heavy is Stock, with Tomislav being a very close second, Banana, and the Gloves of Running Urgently. Despite me being able to talk about this guy all day long, I'm going to wrap up this talk by saying that I love the Heavy. The fact that people are still playing this game to give me the opportunity to properly play him is such a joy. I've spent so many years of my life playing other games, looking for the best Heavy character to play to get that same rush that I've been looking for, but now I have the real deal. What's crazy is that I never really saw myself ever playing Medic in this game. I thought he would just be someone I play when we need one and switch off as soon as we don't, but he is really fun. I thought he'd be very similar to Mercy, who I could never really get into during my time on Overwatch, but I gotta say, he's really different and super fun to play. Keeping people alive while still having the good ability to defend yourself makes for some really satisfying experiences. I feel like characters like him in other games have to cower behind everything. If anyone catches you wandering off by yourself, you are getting fucking mauled. Between some surprisingly strong weapons and dumbass random crits, you really can't be too silly around a medic you find without teammates.
Let's go. Fuck that guy up. I got.
Get fucked, idiot!
My aim is ass.
I would say my go-to is Stock, Crossbow, and that one statue, I can't remember its name. Also, if you were to ask me, I'd say Medic is by far the easiest class to play in the game. Between Uber and how easy it is to keep someone healed, in my opinion, it's him. Which isn't a bad thing at all. You can still always tell the difference between a good medic and a great medic, between Uber timing, healing priority, and positioning. Even missing one of these points can heavily lead to some bad team disorganization. And while being so simple to use in my eyes, he's the strongest character in the game. The impact he brings is ridiculous, and I promise any match you play where one side has a medic and the other side doesn't, it'll probably be a fast game. As Uncle Dane says, no medic, no win. I really don't have too much to say about Engineer because I haven't played him too much, but if the map really isn't in Heavy's favor and Pyro is someone we have a good amount of on my team, Engineer is usually my go-to. And he's just fun, man. Building shit is so satisfying. Having to be on the lookout for spies is very fun, as crazy as it sounds, considering the fact that half a spy's jobs is just to be the Lex Luthor to your Superman, and his weapons fucking slap. At least most of them. The Frontier Justice alone makes me want to play this guy.
Holy shit.
I would say my favorite build for the Engineer is Frontier Justice, the Wrangler, and the Jag. He's just a great time, and whether you want to chill and let your builds do the heavy lifting for you, or lock the fuck in and ride your sentry rocket to a sick ass kill, he is your guy. For the remaining of this chapter, I'm going to be doing a bit of a speed round, being I have literal minutes on some of them. Sure, I have gone up against them enough to understand the basic level of how they work, but I've learned playing this game firsthand that until you properly give a class a good amount of time, you never really understand the full picture of how they work. So for now, I'm going to keep it simple. I also won't be including my preferred loadout for these characters because I don't really have one. Not usually my cup of tea when I play. However, having one that's really good on my team is great, and fighting one that knows what he's doing is the most annoying fucking thing ever. But Scout is so funny, I could never grow to ever hate him. If we disregard the fact that every soldier's random crit chance shoots to 100% whenever they are looking in my general direction, I think he's a pretty dope character. Being the bread and butter of TF2, he is the class that I almost started with. However, I am really glad that I did start with Pyro, so that I could kindly return those rockets back to those large sacks of shit. I promise I am completely kidding. I have nothing but respect for soldier players, and I would be lying if every time they jumped on my head and gave me a lobotomy, it wasn't fucking hilarious. Despite my love for every class in the game, if you were to ask me who I dislike the most on a gameplay perspective, it would probably be Sniper. I know, crazy, the heavy player doesn't like Sniper. But trust me, I am in complete understanding that it is mostly a skill issue on my part. There's a lot of work I could do to understand where snipers are and understand where I should not be, and after doing such, I should be just fine. Not to mention the fact that he literally throws his urine at people, which is absolutely fucking hilarious, and the fact that it is one of the best items in the game makes it 10 times funnier. And I also am low-key impressed by those really cracked snipers, unless it's 2 Fort, in which, I'm sorry bro, I could not give a fuck. In a game where you have a guy that literally throws piss at you, the demo man still manages to be the funniest one.
Oh my god.
And even more than Soldier, every time I see him on my monitor for more than 2 seconds, everyone on my team just fucking explodes. I don't know how he does it, I really don't. In terms of his gameplay though, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of him as of right now due to his weapons almost all being projectile based. However, when I do inevitably get to him, I have no doubt that I'm gonna fucking love the demo night. Well folks, I guess that concludes the speed round for the characters. Now that we're all done with this... Oh fuck, now I gotta turn the fucking power back on? How the hell did that happen? Oh god damn it. While yes, the Spy is one of my least played characters, but if I were to continue with the format of discussing each character based on how much I've played them, Spy would have been after Soldier. However, I don't find it fitting to throw him in the speed round because I do have a little bit more to say about him. Now, some people might not agree with this sentiment, but I absolutely love Spy. Again, I have like 5 minutes on him, my experience is slim to none. But in terms of going up against him, he is the most fun and challenging obstacle in all of TF2. He is always keeping me on my toes, and I don't think TF2 would be the game it is without him. Literally playing any TF2 game without a Spy versus one that has one is completely night and day. And yes, I understand the general consensus of Spy and him being the weakest class in the game. Not saying he's bad in any way, shape, or form, but when you have a character whose strength directly depends on your opponent's knowledge, observance, and game sense, it can lead to a lot of problems for the Spy. Nevertheless, I have nothing but absolute respect for Spy players for their commitment to such a unique and challenging class. I feel like I sound like a president that's like trying to make peace with the Spy players, but I promise I'm being absolutely serious. And I'm also not going to pretend like killing them isn't satisfying as hell. The TF2 community is kind of like going to an 18+ family reunion. You're going to see some people that have great senses of humor who you'll have an absolute blast with, and there will also be the most insufferable racist pieces of shit who have ever graced this rock. And I specifically say 18+ because despite it being free to play, you really don't see a lot of younger kids on the game, which thank God, not that there's anything wrong with that, but playing a game with a high children population and open voice chat is a very much acquired taste. Despite some of the really bad apples of TF2 like every community will inevitably have, almost every day I meet some of the coolest people on this game. Some are just nice and polite, others will give you some good tips for picking up new classes, even some newer players who I myself have given tips to. This game wouldn't be as it is without an extremely dedicated and unique player base, despite TF2's run a few years ago. As much as I hate to discuss this topic, I do feel it is important to talk about for anyone who might not know. Between an entire bot crisis plaguing the game's servers and a very long neglect from the developers, the game was in shambles. In 2020, Valve muted all free-to-play players from using the public voice chat due to a surge of bot accounts spamming voice chat with extremely vulgar content. And in the process, it put voice chat for real players behind a paywall. Players were running to private servers to escape the bots. An uproar of protesting containing hashtags like SaveTF2 and FixTF2 flooded the internet. The community even review bombed the game on Steam in an attempt to make their voices heard. And after over 4 grueling years, the game is finally back to a good place thanks to the community's ruthless protesting. And while the events were truly tragic, I'm so grateful Valve managed to get their shit together and put this game back on its feet. I just hope they truly learn their lesson in this, and it won't affect any other projects they have upcoming, whether it's Deadlock or the continuation of TF2's life. Remember earlier in the video when I was talking about the heavy and I mentioned I would discuss my past about TF2? Well, that's entirely what this chapter is about. Not only discussing my history with TF2, but how I even came about it in the first place. Because I believe it's a rather unique story. My first ever exposure to TF2 from memory was my friend in elementary school drawing some TF2 characters. Not knowing what they were, I asked, and he told me about it, saying he loved a YouTuber animator named PIEMATIONS who he inspired his drawings off of. After leaving school to go to my town library, I went on one of the computers and looked him up only to be greeted by this masterpiece. Despite not understanding any of the jokes around the game, I thought it was absolutely hilarious. In fact, I wasn't even aware that it was an animation based off of a video game at first, but once I did, it was completely over. I looked for TF2 everywhere I went. The internet, YouTube, Nerf guns, even Flash games that slightly resembled it. Once I understood the game a bit more, me and my friends would play fake Man vs. Machine during recess. I found a TF2 book in the library which I read and loved. All of that to say, this game has had a really big impact on my life as I grew older. It's just crazy because I'm 20 now, and this game came out when I was fucking 3. I love this game, but I do feel like saying I would be completely different without it might be a bit of a long shot, but I most certainly would not have the same taste and sense of humor that I do now if it weren't for the game. And for that, I am extremely grateful. From being extremely young up until this point, I have played so many video games from almost every single genre, but I definitely spend most of my time playing online multiplayer games. They are the most fun to me due to their fun competitive nature, and I really do enjoy putting my skills up against others. But the keyword is and should be fun. And over the past couple of years, I honestly haven't gotten the same spark from a lot of the multiplayer games I play, which is why TF2 really couldn't have come at a better time for me. While yes, the game is competitive in its nature and it does have a competitive mode, it's been so fun to play between the game's fun cartoony looks, its sense of humor, and dare I say it, random crits. Trust when I say that you will catch me crashing out over a soldier one-shot every now and then, but I feel like random crits is what keeps me from taking this game too seriously. And the fact that I can choose to play without them if I wish is really nice. Every aspect of this game has rekindled my flame of passion for multiplayer games, and it's even made me enjoy my previous rotation even more. Is there a chance that 75% of the things I said were completely wrong and I need to play the game much more to actually understand what I'm talking about? Absolutely. Hell, that's the whole point of this video. I wanted to document the thoughts of being someone who is brand new to an older game. This video was so much fun to make, and putting it next to my original vision, it has come so much further. Compared to my previous video, which I just want to say real quick, I could not be more grateful for the love that video got. I never saw it going anywhere. I made it purely out of boredom on my phone with CapCut, but I have really stepped it up with this video using Adobe Premiere for the first time, and all things considered, I am very proud of the result. This video was really close to never seeing the light of day due to my really shitty $900 laptop not being able to run it. I had to delete almost all of my games and everything else just to run Adobe to make this video. I also want to give such a huge thanks to my girlfriend for making the models you've seen throughout this video, and to her sister who made the thumbnail. If you're someone who has been iffy about playing TF2 due to its age and reception in the past, or an older player who put the game down for whatever reason being, I highly implore you to give the game another chance. It's been the most fun I've had playing a video game in recent years, and I look forward to continuing for much more time to come. Thank you all so much for watching, and whatever my next project may be, I hope to see you there.